What is going on, everybody? It's the Proud Someone here for AEW Allout review for September the 5th, 2020, the most anticipated pay-per-view of the year, and it was a disappointment. We all saw this coming eventually, that AEW is not immune to having a disappointing show. This was so hyped up. We were all waiting months for this show. MJF taking on Jon Moxley. You having Brody Lee be your new AEW TNT champion. What would happen there? What would happen with the tag team championships? Now, mind you, was everything on this show disappointing? Hell no. You had Young Bucks and the Jurassic Express give you one hell of a tag team match. The tag team championship match showing you that tag team wrestling needs to be a focal point of professional wrestling in every organization. The women's championship match was great. Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa went out there and showed you why women's wrestling should be treated with more respect, in my opinion, is what I'm trying to say. And of course, the team in the World Heavyweight Championship match was a pretty good one too. Everything else on this show was bad. Coupled by the fact that Matt Hardy had suffered a legitimate injury in this show, and AEW's piss-poor way of handling this injury just put a damper on this show. They had a crowd during this show, and for the majority of the show, it felt like they had no crowd. I don't know what it was. I don't know if everybody got buzzed off the mimosas or something earlier in the show or anything, but the crowd was dead for the majority of the show, it felt like. I mean, of course, they sang Judas for Chris Jericho, but to me, it just felt like they weren't there for a lot of this stuff. And imagine, like, FTR, Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega in front of 10,000 fans. That would have been fantastic. Didn't feel like it tonight. But the pre-show had two matches, which originally was supposed to be Britt Baker versus Big Swole. That match, of course, happened on the main show, which is something we'll talk about here in a second. But you started off with Joey Janela versus Serpentico. Why they put this match on here, I don't have a clue. Serpentico ends up losing to Joey Janela in a hard-fought match. It wasn't a bad match. Was it worth going over really much? Not really. It was a pre-show match that felt like it belonged on Dark. Dark Order 3 and 4 which is John Reynolds and Alex Silver versus Private Party. This was another match they threw on the pre-show, which, again, I don't know why. There was no build to it. If they ain't going to give me any build to even a pre-show match, I don't care about that match. Even though I will say, John Silvers looks great. He's looking better and better every single time I see him on these shows. I don't know what they're trying to build him to be, but my goodness, he shows every time just much more like improvement, polish, whatever you want to call it. He looks better every single time. So Private Party ends up winning with the gin and juice after a hard-fought match. Like I said, John Silvers, even though I know he's on being the elite, being the total dimwit of the Dark Order, in the ring, he is actually showing how he can be a big player in AEW down the line if they continue to let him, if he continues to improve and they put some stock into him. So we go to our first match on the main card, Britt Baker versus Big Swole, tooth and nail. This was not a good match. This was cinematic, apparently. This was not good. They went to, supposedly, Britt Baker's dentist's office. You had Big Swole come in. Rebel was there dressed up as a assistant with a mask on. She gets hit with a clipboard. So Britt Baker Big Swole looks for Britt Baker. We see her off to the side with a mask on, with a face covering mask because of her nose. She comes in and attacks her, takes the mask off, and starts beating her with it. They're brawling all over the place. They go outside and fight on top of the Rolls Royce, or whatever the fuck they call that vehicle. Rebel ends up getting thrown into the garbage disposal. the garbage can area, whatever. They fight back inside. Britt Baker goes for some Novocaine, ends up getting it stabbed into her leg, so her leg was pretty much asleep. And Big Swole hits a rolling forearm through into Rebel's face. Swole then hits one of the back of Baker's face. Baker can't move her one leg. Swole then puts a mask, one of the ones that knock you out when you go to the dentist's office. And Britt Baker is out. The referee called the match, and Big Swole wins. This was an absolute travesty to open your show. This should have stayed on the pre-show. The reason this showed up on the main card is because on Wednesday, they announced this match for the buy-in, and everybody who wanted to threw a fucking fit because this match was going to be better than the women's championship match. This match had a better build than the women's championship. I will give him that yes, it did have a big build, but this match sucked. It should have stayed on the pre-show. It had no business being on the main card, and they went out there and showed you why it should have been on the pre-show. Then we get to what should have opened the show and should have been the first match, but because of these crybabies out there, got pushed back to the second match of the show. Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. This was fantastic. So we had a disappointing open to the show. Had the rest of the show from here on out been just what we expect from AEW, I would have said, forget the tooth and nail match. This is where the real pay-per-view begins. This was fantastic. Luchasaurus, which, by the way, apparently Reggie Miller and his family are big fans of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and JR likes to shout that out. But the Young Bucks showing a tougher, grittier side to themselves. They're not really much about the fun and games anymore. Hangman Page cracked something in the psyche, and they are not happy with the fact that how everything is gone. So they go into this match. They go out. We have ourselves a great fucking match here. Unfortunately, Jungle Boy in trouble. Matt tags in. Jungle Boy draped over the second rope. Nick with a senton on Jungle Boy from the top rope. Cover 2. BTE trigger misses. Jungle Boy gets nicked and kicks him to kick Matt. Meltzer driver Luchasaurus chokeslams Nick off the rope. And when I say chokeslam, he didn't just pick him up and chokeslam him. He jumped and twisted and chokeslammed Nick down. Holy shit, that looked like that hurt. So Nick's outside now, and Luchasaurus goes for a big dive onto Nick. Nick moves, and of course he was over the barricade, so Luchasaurus lands on a bunch of the AEW talent over the barricade. Jungle Boy leaps off the set and eats a mid-air super kick. Nick tags in. Double super kicks cover. Nope. BTE trigger. 1, 2, 3. And the Young Bucks win the match. Now, honestly, I love the match. Match was great. This was a great starter. Like I said, excuse the tooth and nail match because that is a match you could skip. This match was great. The 2 tag team wrestling matches they had on this show were 2 of the best matches on this on the night. And then we go from this to the 21-man Battle Royal. Outside of the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble just seems, I don't know what it is, but the Royal Rumble just seems to have it down right. Because WWE has been doing the Royal Rumble for about 30 years now. But the 21-man Battle Royal just did not work. Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Blade, Ray Phoenix, and Trent start the match. And unlike the last time they did a Battle Royal like this, the Casino Battle Royal, where they would do the countdown and they would tell us what suit they were, they gave everybody an individual entrance for everybody. So you get Trent got an entrance, Christopher Daniels got an entrance, Jake Hager got an entrance, The Blade got an entrance, and Phoenix got an entrance before they started the match. Then when the 2 minutes were up, or the 3 minutes were up, Frankie Kazarian got an entrance, Will Hobbs got an entrance, Chuck Taylor got an entrance, and Santana and Ortiz got an entrance. And of course, they went right after Chuck. They even pulled Trent out, and they had their nightstick and beat the bejesus out of both of these two. So Hobbs gets rid of Blade. Hager ditches Daniels into the outside. Santana and Ortiz still beating up the best friends. Hager swings on everybody. Billy gets an entrance. Penta, which apparently this is something I didn't realize until tonight. They're not calling Pentagon Jr. anymore. They're calling him Penta El Cerro. So either the deal with AAA got voided because of COVID, or they decided they didn't want to call him Pentagon Jr. anymore. I think the first that happened. He's no longer Pentagon Jr., he is Penta El Cerro. Hope we get an explanation on that, because weren't they just calling him Pentagon Jr. on Dark or last week on TV? I need to get an explanation on that one. But you have Brian Cage and Mickey Starks come out as well, and then Darby Allin enters. Everyone's brawling. Too much to call. It's a battle royal, as usual battle royals go. Shawn Spears comes out. He smiles and walks over to the commentary desk. Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer enter the match. Tully Blanchard, I guess, goes over and gives Shawn Spears the metal piece that he would put into his glove. Spears checks the ring and ends up heading down for the commentary. Let's see. Santana Ortiz on the apron. Trent smacks at him. Archer then lifts and throws Trent out. At Ortiz, he ducks. And then Ortiz gets up. He's looking away. Just taps his head. He's like, yeah, I'm smart, man. Turns around, eats a shot from Lance Archer. He is gone. Then the 21st man, Matt Sydal. And I feel bad for this guy. Matt Sydal gets the entrance. He gives Shawn Spears a running knee. Goes for a shooting star press off the top rope. And for whatever reason, when he goes to lift, his foot slips and he falls back first into the ring. That has GIF written all over it. It will be on Botchamania. That had to be the scariest spot at this point of the night. Trust me, there is something later on that is much more scarier. But Matt Sydal's fine. He makes it to the rest of the match as much as he's here. Everyone's brawn. Everyone's getting eliminated. Nothing big special about this match. When it comes down to the final four being Will Hobbs, which Will Hobbs looked fantastic as much as they could. Will Hobbs being the guy in this match who has been seen as a jobber. To get a spot in the Battle Royal tells you the stock that AEW is probably going to give to Will Hobbs. But Sydal with an assisted DDT on Kingston. Archer hits Black out on Sydal. He then moves to the apron, kicks to Archer. Kingston knocks him out. Archer tries for a big boot. Kingston brings him to the apron. Butcher's trying to help Kingston. Roberts holding his snake near Kingston. Kingston then bites Archer's ear and throws some punches. Roberts with the snake, with the distraction, he's hitting him with the bag with the snake in it. Archer chokeslams Kingston off the apron down onto his guys, and he wins in a future AEW championship spot. Here's my problem with the end of this match. When it gets down to the final few, Eddie Kingston is on the apron, or on the floor. On the ground, on the mat. He rolls under the ring and is on the apron. At least that's what I saw on the camera angle. I might be wrong about this, but from what I saw, Eddie Kingston never went over the top rope. Yes, he got on the top on the turnbuckle. On the turnbuckle, he was on the second turnbuckle when Lance Archer chokeslammed him off. Now, the rules are you're supposed to go over the top rope, feet have to touch the floor, or the stage because they had that stage there. But from what I saw from my vantage point, unless I missed something, Eddie Kingston never went over the top rope, and yet he gets chokeslammed to the outside, and they give the win to Lance Archer. I'd have to see the match again. I'll have to watch it tomorrow morning again because something didn't look right in that match. Something didn't look right, and Archer wins, but I have an asterisk for now because I swear Eddie Kingston went under the ropes and ended up getting chokeslammed out. Then we go from this match we go from bad to worse. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. I had high hopes for this match. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara has been a blood feud going on for a while. Matt Hardy wants to end Sammy's career. Sammy Guevara just wants Matt Hardy to be gone. That was this match. A broken rules match, aka a last man standing. If Matt Hardy loses, he has to leave AEW. Well, we go to the entranceway between Daly's Place and the stadium. Hardy is looking for Guevara, who slowly keeps around him on a cart. So Sammy Guevara bringing back in reverse, trying to do what Matt Hardy did to him during Stadium Stampede, or around Stadium Stampede. Guevara guns it but misses, driving through a bunch of boxes. This match is basically a last man standing match, with Hardy having to leave AEW if he loses. Hardy DDTs Guevara onto a picnic table. Hardy and Guevara go up onto a lift. This should have never happened. They had this lift. They had 2 tables covered in black, make it look like 1 table. They go into the lift. Matt raises it up. Matt looks for a side effect to the tables. That does not happen. Both men go through the table as Guevara spears him. Matt Hardy, and here's the thing. They miss the first table. Matt goes through the second table. Matt's head hits the concrete. Splat. Are you kidding me? Matt Hardy's career could actually be over because of this careless spot right here. I know they had, obviously they had 2 tables set up. They set 2 tables up because you're supposed to fall through the first one, so your head hits through the second one, and you're laying there in a heap of rubble without hitting the concrete. So Matt Hardy's down, and he's out. Referee starts her 10 count. Matt is really wobbly and can barely stand. The doctor comes out and stops the match. Commentary putting over that the referee didn't count Hardy out. Hardy is still stalking Guevara as we go to commentary, who says at times a match can't end to save the health of a wrestler. They actually ring the bell. We get no announcement of how this match goes. Sammy's getting pushed away. Sammy's going up to the sidewalk area or the stage area. Now we go back to Hardy catching up with Guevara. He hits a DDT on Guevara. The match, you hear Justin Roberts about to say the winner, Sammy Guevara. However, the bell re-rings, so the match is continuing. They fight over to a scaffolding. They get up the scaffold. Matt Hardy hits Guevara a couple times. He falls through a planted area, and the referee counts him out for 10. And Hardy wins the match. This was definitely not the way this match was supposed to go. I think the finish was supposed to be the finish they were going to have, but this was not the way the match was going to go. Who the fuck thought that spot was needed? Matt Hardy is in his 40s. Matt Hardy does not need to be taking spots like that through a table on a concrete fucking floor. That was the dumbest fucking spot of the night. It was the scariest spot. Matt Hardy's career could legitimately be over because of that. He's definitely got a fucking concussion. As soon as this match was over, he went to the hospital. And AEW did a piss poor job with trying to control and build, work on it. They've been promoting how they take care of their talent. Well, they did a piss poor job when it came to Matt Hardy. This match right here ruined majority of this night. Cheetah and Thunder Rosa was your next match. And a lot of people didn't even really pay mind to this match because they were worried about Matt Hardy. A lot of people were talking on Twitter about Matt Hardy while this match was going on. So AEW really fucked up with this match with Matt Hardy and the way they did that spot. If you're going to do the 2-stable spot, here's a good fucking idea. get a couple of those crash mats that you, like, before the show, and before you're going to bring people in, get a couple of those crash mats and figure out where the fucking crane needs to be so you could fall through both tables. This should have never fucking happened. They're lucky Matt Hardy is not dead. Because you take that type of spill and crack your head, and they're lucky because obviously the crane was not up all the way. They went about halfway with it. If they go a little bit higher and have that same outcome, Matt Hardy probably has a fractured skull and could be severely injured if he's not already severely injured. This was piss poorly done, and then AEW piss poor management of it. That during the main event or like later in the show, they continued to mention how Matt Hardy decided that they decided to continue the match even though he probably shouldn't have. They fucked up, and AEW should be ashamed for how they handled the Matt Hardy-Sammy Guevara match. Hikaru Shida vs. Thunder Rosa AEW Women's Championship match. This was another bright spot on this show. So we're about halfway through the show here at this part, and 2 out of the 4 main roster main show matches have been good to great, and this is the 5th. Okay, this is our 5th match, right? Yeah, this is about our 5th match. So 2 out of 5 matches so far have been great. The other 3 could be missable at best. And 2 of them can be missable at best, and the other one should have never had that outcome should have never been booked the way it was. That is on AEW. Whoever booked that match should be let go, and that's all I got to say about that. But Thunder Rosa and Shida, the story of this match was Shida trying to beat Thunder Rosa, and Thunder Rosa countering Shida every step of the way. Shida did her running knee while Thunder Rosa was laying her head out to the outside. Then she grabs a chair, sets it up to do her lifting knee, and Thunder Rosa used that chair to drop kick and knock down Hikaru Shida. It's like Hikaru Shida tried to do a stretch muffler. Thunder Rosa would get out of it. Every step of the way until the very end, Shida could not beat Thunder Rosa at her game. The only thing it is that Shida had the will and the tenacity to beat Thunder Rosa. It was one hell of a match. This is definitely one of those, like, the tag team match earlier and this match. If you want to watch a condensed version of AEW, of All Out, and just watch the great matches, the 2 tag team matches, the women's championship match, and I'm going to say the world title as well. But we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, again, every step of the way, Thunder Rosa was just outsmarting, outclassing, and just making Hikaru Shida look like a fool. But, in the end, Rosa with a flurry of shots to the midsection. Shida returns fire with a knee to the back of the head. German suplex by the challenger. Shida then hits the Falcon Arrow pin 1 kick out. Shida is surprised. So is everybody else around ringside. Falcon Arrow rolled up for 2. Shida gets the stretch muffler locked in the middle of the ring. But Rosa finally gets fights to the ropes. Rosa lands the backstabber, cover 2. Shida with the backbreaker, cover 2. Hits the running knee, 1, 2, 3. Highly contested match. These 2 went out there, put everything on the line. And so it sucks that this match had to happen right after Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. And the piss poor way AEW handled that. But again, if you take the Matt Hardy match away, and you watch this match just straight up, these 2 women showed you what AEW could do for the women's division. We need more matches like this. Good job for both of them. Then we get the WWE moment of the night. Kip Sabian is backstage with Alex Marvez and his girlfriend Penelope Ford, and he's rocking some Hulk Hogan sweatpants. Ford says they're getting married. Sabian says this won't be any kind of wedding. They're going to go all out. It'll be live on TV Before the wedding comes the bachelor party, and is also best man. Says he found the right guy, and he will reveal who that is this Wednesday. He then plugs his channel, and the message below says, this message has been approved by All Elite Wrestling. Another dig at WWE, and we'll talk about that tomorrow with Unscripted, what Vince McMahon, the crazy and outlandish thing that Vince McMahon is forcing his talent to do now. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Cody commentator says there's still no update on Cody's health after Brody Lee's attack. Brandy let Excalibur know in a text that Cody will let people know how he's doing when he's ready. Dark Order, Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, Grayson versus the Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona, and Scorpio Sky. Did we need this match on the pay-per-view? No. Not at all. This match was one of those matches, if you scratch this from the show, it would have improved the show. This was a match that I gave no shit about and didn't give a fuck about it and did not want to see it. The match ends with Colt Cabana, which, by the way, Dustin Rhodes was rocking black and blue tonight instead of black and red, which, okay, that works for me. Lee hits the lariat, tags Colt in, and says pin him. Colt then, instead of pinning him, goes up for a moonsault, misses, Dustin with an inside cradle, Cardona holds Lee off, 1, 2, 3, and that was that. Post-match, Lee is super mad. Commentary noting that he wanted Colt to make the pin, and that didn't happen. Lee gets in the ring and yells at Colt, I set you up. Lee then leaves with the group, I gave it to you. Yells as he bounces. Uno helps Colt up and talks with him. Backstage, Tony talks to Dustin about his tag team win. Dustin says he pumped up to get the win. He says they didn't have that. They did it tonight for Cody, and soon he'll be back to get what's rightly his. Tony says Dustin gets a title shot at TNT champion Brody Lee on Wednesday's show. Dustin says it's been a long time since he fought for a title, but he tells Lee he's coming for him on Wednesday, and hell is coming with him. Again, a match that did not need to be on the show, and that's all I'm going to say about that. The show, it was just one of those matches that, if you needed to take a piss break or take a dump, this was a match for you. But speaking of another great spot on this show, Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega versus FTR for the World Tag Team Championships. This was just another display of great wrestling. FTR are going to be great tag team champions. They won this match. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. How did that happen, though? They're going for the last call. And Kenny Omega missed, who they try to do it on? Shit. Page and... I'm sorry. Omega tries for the V-trigger, misses, and decks Page by mistake. Wheeler with a chop block on Omega, then a kick to him. Spike power driver on Page, 1, 2, Page kicks out, not a fan of that. Another one, 1, 2, 3, we have new tag team champions. Post-match, FTR gets Page, who is still down on the mat, a beer and head to the back. Omega then gets a ringside table, like he's going to whack his partner. He then tosses the table aside. Page goes over to hug him for something. Omega doesn't catch him as he falls to the mat. Omega then kicks the beer away, hitting the camera perfectly, which that, mind you, was a hell of a shot. I don't know if he meant to hit the camera, but the dude hit it like dead square in the middle. And it wasn't like a straight shot. He kicked it with the side of his boot into the camera. Good shot. Then heads to the back. He heads to the back and asks Matt and Nick if they saw what happened. He says he's done. He walks out to the outside with them. Omega blows off some steam as Matt and Nick are trying to keep him at the venue. Omega says it's time for the clean sweep, a clean break, go back to the way things were. Omega gets in the car and heads off. Young Bucks don't leave with Omega. They're teasing the cleaner gimmick, but I'm also I figured for a while here we were going to see FTR walk out with the tag team titles. That was obvious. Then I figured we were going to see Hangman Page turn on Kenny Omega. I am disappointed to say that did not happen. But it looks like it's going to be Kenny Omega going to his cleaner gimmick, which I don't know how well that's going to work here. All I know is Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega are no longer your tag team champions, and FTR are. Now, if you watch this match and you notice Tully Blanchard was wearing a new jacket that said Revelation on the back. And on the above the word Revelation was horses. It looked like the old Four Horsemen logo with, instead of horsemen, Revelation. So maybe Revelation is going to be their version of the Four Horsemen, which we have yet to see who the other two members are going to be, because clearly FTR is going to be the other two members, the first two members. Chris Jericho talks about Alex Marvez backstage, hyping up the first ever Mimosa Mayhem match. Jericho says he makes the main event stars, he makes dreams come true, but he also ends them. And we get said match, and this match was painful to watch. I don't give a shit about this match. I tried to watch it, I could not. This was another one of those, go make a sandwich, eat, like, if it was daytime out, mow the lawn a little bit, do something. This match was boring. AEW has things for different people, and this was not for me. All I'm going to say is Cassidy slips out, Superman punch, Jericho hangs on, Cassidy hits another one, Jericho goes down into the mimosa, and Orange Cassidy wins. I'm sorry. Chris Jericho is far too valuable to lower himself to put somebody like Orange Cassidy over. Do you really think they're going to give Orange Cassidy a world championship run? No. Jericho should be making guys who are going to be future world champions. Now, could Orange Cassidy be a TNT champion? Probably. But to be somebody that Chris Jericho has to waste his time on, I would have rather seen Jungle Boy and Chris Jericho continue their feud from months ago. Get Jungle Boy over as the next big star. Get Jungle Boy to the point where if MJF wins tonight's championship match, which we'll talk about here in a minute, that he could be the guy who, by this time next year, wins the World Heavyweight Championship. This was not the person Chris Jericho should have been putting over. Just end this feud. Jericho needs to go on to bigger and better things, putting over young stars who are who could be championship material and not jokes like Orange Cassidy. Sorry. This coming Wednesday, Kip Sabian and Pepperoni Forum are getting married. Sabian to announce the best man. Who fucking cares? Brody Lee versus Dustin Rhodes, TNT Championship, as well as the AEW World Champion will speak. Jon Moxley versus MJF with Wardlow, AEW World Heavyweight Championship match, and of course the Paradigm Shift, aka the Death Rider, is banned from this match. Now, I told you on my predictions, the winner of the Battle Royal was going to spoil who won this match. Now, Lance Archer won the Battle Royal. Who did you think was going to win this match and then have Lance Archer challenge them? If you said MJF, you're an idiot. Now, MJF did everything he could to win this match, working on Jon Moxley's arm, doing everything dirty in the book that he could, but in the end, MJF spits in his face, which, by the way, he got busted open. Moxley almost goes for the move for his finisher. MJF counters into the Fujiwara armbar. He bites on Moxley's fingers. MJF yells for Moxley to tap as Moxley crawls to the ropes. MJF brings him back to the center of the ring. Moxley eventually gets a foot on the rope. MJF lands Heat Seeker on Moxley, cover 2. Both go wild on with a bunch of strikes. MJF pulls the referee in front of him. He tosses him away and thumbs on Moxley in the eye. Moxley with a sleeper hold. MJF pulls the referee in and hits the low blow. MJF hits Crossroads, cover 2, Wardlow up on the apron. Referee yells at him. Wardlow throws the ring on the mat over near MJF. Moxley sees what's going on though, hits the Paradigm Shift on MJF while the referee wasn't looking. 1, 2, 3. And Moxley retains the championship with his finisher. Post-match, Lance Archer and Jake Roberts looking on from the crowd. Archer is next in line for a title shot as Moxley flips off Archer and raises his title. And that was the end to what was supposed to be the biggest pay-per-view of the year, but fell very, very short. MJF is a future world champion, but of course this feud's not over by a long shot. Yes, Now seeing the way that they did this finish and the way they ended this match makes me hate the fact that they even gave Lance Archer a world title shot, because he's next in line, and do you really think that he's going to beat Jon Moxley if Jon Moxley and MJF are still having their feud? Unless the match between Jon Moxley and MJF happens before Lance Archer, then it's fine. But I don't know. AEW had a big miss tonight on pay-per-view. This show should have been way better than it was, and it just wasn't. But that is your AEW on TNT review. The AEW All Out review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. And I will see you guys, and on Instagram too at The France Club. And I will see you guys for tomorrow for Unscripted. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.